Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Stormwater Board meeting on October 27th. And I'm going to read a little excerpt here. In accordance with the governor's executive order relating to COVID-19, we have arranged a live stream of tonight's meeting at hyperlink cedarlakeindiana.org/view-town-meetings /. You must join the meeting through the link to participate during public comment. If you have a question or comment about an item on the agenda, please email Jill Murr at jill.murr@cedarlakein.org by 4 p.m. Mrs. Murr will ensure that all submissions are shared and submission entered into the minutes of the meeting. Please keep your comments civil and constructive to the public policy issues. All right, call the meeting to order and start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Start off with the roll call.
Tom Frick is absent. Dan Enright.
Here.
Ryan Lissick.
Here.
Don Oliphant.
Here.
Tom Stevens.
Here.
Tom Carnahan is absent. Tammy Bilgery here.
All right. In reviewing the September 22nd minutes, can I receive a motion to pass the minutes?
I'll make a motion they be approved as written.
Seconded?
Dan Enright.
Yes.
Ryan Lissick.
Yes. All right, jumping in on into Chuck, to old business. Chuck Becker at 7513 West 136th Avenue. Mr. Oliphant.
Yeah, if you remember this is pretty much at 136 Ave west of Moore Street, kind of that entire block that encompasses 136 Ave and 136 Place. Kind of a historically low area. We're still waiting on smoke testing to be completed to get kind of exact limits of the drain tile / storm sewer in those rear yards. So we're kind of deal with what we're dealing with existing wise. We know it's undersized, obviously. We ran a couple additional models on it to figure out what kind of sizing we're going to need and if it can use any of the old infrastructure. Answer to that question is probably not. So, and there's not any really alternatives except for the current outlet that's kind of servicing the area now. There's that bowl that feeds into this low area, kind of further to the east of the low spot up in here. There was some thought about diverting it into offshore, but offshore is not designed to handle that either. Other option would be get it across this huge ridge here and get it into the lift station of Cedar Point Park, but we'd be 12 feet in the ground, try to catch grade. So that's not really feasible either. So we're pretty much limited to the existing outfall, which we said before is a 21-inch pipe that runs off this kind of L-shaped public right-of-way piece into the lake. We have about 14.5 acres that go to it right now, which is substantial even for a 21-inch pipe. So even if we upsize the pipes in the rear yards, we would need to upsize that entire trunk line to get even a 10-year level capacity. System's probably got a 1 year to 2 year level capacity at the most. Portions of that middle pipe that cross under 136 lane are back pitched and it's essentially in a sump condition. So not only do we have 10-inch pipes into likely 6-inch clay tiles or plastic tiles back here, the entire system just well undersized. And that being said, the 21-inch, even on its own, has finite level capacity. So we'd likely have to rip out the entire system. It's not as simple as putting in 15 or 18-inch pipes back there. We'd have to get the same level of capacity all the way to the lake. So it's a large project. That being said, we likely would need easements from roughly 9 to 10 properties back there to get access in the rear yards to actually set the system up. And it's tight back there. There are some sheds back there, some fence lines. Even getting into some of the properties in between the lots are tight to run our pipes. So it's not a small project. Let's put it that way. I don't have a number for you yet. Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Mhm.
But that's kind of what we're dealing with now.
So is there any long-term planning that this project can possibly intercede with?
Not really.
No.
136 Place was redone. I think we discussed circa 08, 09, not from a drainage perspective, just from a roadway perspective. So the original pipes have been in place still. I think there were some minor improvements to that system back then, but nothing substantial, nothing that needed to be done. The only part that's not curved in that area now is essentially from Knight Street west up the hill, up 136, and then down this buff drive until it ties into the curb line about right here. Otherwise, 136 Place is all curbed. And then this section of 136 Ave was curbed as part of offshore and extended slightly close to Knight Street. I think it may have hit the radius.
If we were to take on a project the size that you're speaking of, where would it be headed to? In other words, right now, the 10-inch line, I'm assuming, goes toward the lake?
It does. So there's a 10-inch line that splits to the east of this property right here. And then there's some laterals that come off of it in the rear yards. Small guys, probably not 100% functioning. They all tie into an 18-inch system at the roadway, which kind of jogs west into a structure here, heads south to like the boot of this L shape, and then a 21-inch takes it to the lake. So the biggest pipe in the system is a 21, is the lateral heading west out to the lake, and then it kind of jogs through 18s through the road. But the old survey that we had back in 08 actually showed the same invert at this turn out to the lake and then the turn north. And then it was essentially in a sumped condition all the way across. I think I know why it's doing that is because this rim is so low at this southeast corner of this property that there's, unless you lower the entire system, that's one of the reasons I said that we pretty much need to get into the outlet too. We need to lower this outlet right here in order to get cover here to put a bigger pipe in. So the entire system's pretty much got to go. But you're talking 6 figures there. Easy.
Oh, easy, yeah,
Easy.
yeah.
Multiple 6 figures likely. And again, you would need easements from several homeowners, and it would have to be contiguous in some respects. If one homeowner says no, you have a blank spot in your system. So that's another kind of hang up.
Yes, sir. Please.
Go on up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
John Becker, 6100 West 136 Avenue, Place, Sea Lake. Now, isn't there easements already back there?
We're not 100% sure.
Because I remember when they redid, they put all that brand new pipe going all the way up to the top of the hill behind that one A-frame to where the carport is on 136th Avenue. When they redid that drain, because they took out the 4-inch tile and they put the 8-inch tile going all the way down where it lies.
I'm not saying there isn't. The plats that we have some of the original plats, and I think we talked about this at one of the last meetings, is that the original plat was then replatted because there was a giant outlet down the middle, because you can actually see kind of some of the old plats, some of the old
Right.
property lines, and then this is part of Outlet H.
So I thought
A
they
lot of
already
that
got
got
the easements
fed
before
into it.
doing that.
I don't
They did the
know.
last project
Yeah, I don't know.
back in
There's nothing.
06.
There's nothing in the 08 plans,
Okay, wait.
but we didn't really go off right away either. So
'Cause I remember
I'm
they
not
had to go
surprised they're
back
not on there.
And then there should be an easement going in her yard, going straight back.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way: if we proceeded with the project, we'd obviously go through that process to figure out what's there and what's not. If we don't need them, we don't need them. That's great.
Now, instead of ripping out the old system, couldn't you piggyback next to it?
I think you'd want to rip out the old system.
Right.
Okay.
That's
Well, I
part
don't
of the
know. I
reason.
mean, rip it out from where behind my house, going underneath my house to the one in. you
Well,
know,
the one under your
front.
house, we'd likely flow will fill.
But I thought, if to put a drain, where you got the drain now, or run it through the side and connect it to the side, and then run, another
Well, the
10
thought
or
would
12.
the thought is that we'd stick some inlets in the road here, catch everything, and it'd like to be curved so we can catch it properly.
Right.
And then that lateral would swing because the low spot's actually almost dead center of your house.
Right, because
It's right here.
both lots flood.
Yeah. So we would likely pick it up here and likely run a pipe either on the west or east side of you, probably the east, because you got this like weird
Yeah, it's
Alabama shape going on down here. So we'd likely do that just so we have
'cause
a
that's the
straight
end of
shot.
the easement right there.
Yeah.
But that spot right there, that's the end of the easement. It doesn't go west anymore.
Yeah.
But there was the easement from right there going all the way east.
That would be the hope. I mean, if we find them, we find them.
Because I remember, well, a few years ago, I think the county called one of my neighbors and asked him if he wanted to, use that easement back there after they got done doing it.
Yep.
And he fenced it in
Gotcha.
after that.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
that's
the other.
two more houses to the east.
Even if we do have easements, we got to get through all the fence lines, which will be fun. I mean, if the easements are there, then that's kind of the homeowner's responsibility to remove and replace. We would likely remove them. We wouldn't put them back up.
Because I don't think the guy up the street in the backyard, I don't think his ever floods anymore.
This guy up here.
Yeah, in the back right there.
Yeah.
Because they're catching it, catching half of 136th place. It kicks back that way,
Yeah.
It goes-
There's a cross culvert that kind of runs down here
right by
into
those
this low spot.
duplexes.
Yeah.
It cuts over, then it runs back,
Cuts over to this
and-
low spot and then down.
and then it Wise into her backyard.
And then
She's
it all
got the
works its
8
way
inch,
down
I
here.
got the 8 inch and it goes into the
The 10.
10.
I mean, the goal would likely to put an 18, maybe even a 21 in there if we can fit it. And then upsize the system down. Like I said, it would have been nice if we could have used that 21, but it's a decent amount of water coming off of almost 15 acres. So we would need to replace that just to be able to lower the system and get something in there that's sizable. Because even right now, the 18-inch that stubs into the 10 and the 10 goes north, there's only about 5 inches of cover on that pipe. So we can't really upsize it without dropping it all.
Yeah, because I mean, if you get a 1 inch rain, that's when it starts backing up.
Oh yeah, we've run 1, 2 year, 5 year events, and the whole system surcharges on those events.
Said I've been complaining about it since 1992.
I know.
And that's when I remember Bill Malachar did the smoke test before, and they did the dye test with the water where it ran.
Mm-hmm.
It connects to the one in the front yard.
I mean, that's where we stand. It's a big project. I'm sure you kind of knew that.
Yeah, that's why I've been
That's why you've been
bringing up
talking
this
about
for
it.
years and years and years.
Yeah.
I
So
always put a Band-Aid on and say, well, okay, we'll go the cheapest route. We'll do the cheapest route. We'll
Yeah.
do the cheapest route.
I mean, the next step is to actually get hard sizes and numbers, and see what that number is, and see if there's money to do it.
which I already know the answer to that.
I'm not saying anything. We'll put the numbers together and see where it goes. But it's better to have something on paper than not, let's put it that way.
Right.
When money does come available. So,
Is that okay? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, I know it's gonna get pushed down for another 10 years, you know, it's just,
I
It's
would say
frustrating.
that.
Yeah.
like I said, I've been dealing with this since 1992. First, they put the drain in the front yard, said that was gonna help connect it to clay tile,
Mm-hmm.
runs right underneath the house. And then when they did, oh wait, that was supposed to be originally a 16 going in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And when I seen McAllister digging it up, I'm like, hey, what's going on? It's supposed to be 16. I called Denny Wilkening, and he's like, well, they said, you know, well, I thought it was a 12-inch at the time. But he said, that's enough. I'm like, how's 2 8s going into a 12 going to be enough? Oh, our engineer said it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we can continue to explore some options here and come to a solution that's going to make the most sense. I can't promise anything right now, but it would be too large of a project to even complete right now. So,
I mean, the beauty of it, at least it serves, multiple lots. And, a good two to three blocks. We've had ones where, you have a $100,000 project that services one lot. So I guess at least this one services a good number of homes.
Because land to the west, they're always getting flooded too. And then the one directly to the south of me, they're always getting the flood too, because they're thinking I was pushing all my water on them, pumping water on them. I'm like, no, that's the river that's running through my yard.
all
I
right.
said, if it was just my yard flooding, I don't care about the yard
I
flood.
hear you.
It's when it gets in the house and I'm constantly replacing the furnace.
Mm-hmm.
Said 3 sump pumps can't keep up.
Yeah, they're not designed for that.
You're right. So we'll have to continue to explore options and probably put some numbers next to everything. All right. Sorry.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Next order of business, I think we could group them together. It pertains to Cary Street, 14806B Cary Street with Nick Thierry. Ronald Costello, 14736B Cary Street. Believe the town was able to get out there and look at some pictures of the pipe and kind of get an update on that. Anyone from the camera truck?
I haven't got a chance to talk to Tony yet.
Okay. Well, you guys went out there and took pictures.
They
there.
did, they have the pictures. so.
Okay.
Most likely that entire system is going to have to be replaced. I think we've known that, but we're just kind of hopeful the limits would be a little smaller.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're talking an entire system and giving you an idea of how long that system is. I mean, I think it's pretty much from 148th place, at least, if not further south than that, all the way up to 147th, I think, all throughout those rear yards. So you're talking almost 1,000 feet of pipe. Luckily, it's an easement. There's a big easement back there. I think it's a 30-foot easement or something like that. But it's also a big pipe. Yeah. But there's also fences back there as well. I think a good majority of lots have fences, probably. They're all duplex lots. But yeah, that thing's, I think, beyond repair, pending the pictures, but I'm pretty sure. I've seen isolated pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen video of it yet, but the pictures from the manhole, that's pretty good to form, and you can't really, what they call, re-round it. So it's pretty much shot.
Yeah, Tony said he can only get his camera so far, and then that's it, that it won't go any farther, it's crushed.
Which says a lot because it's a 3-foot pipe.
Yeah.
So it tells you how much that thing's collapsed.
So it's 1,000 feet long pipe,
Yep,
and it's, what's the diameter of?
36 inches, 3 foot.
36 inches?
Yeah, it's an HDPE pipe. It's put in back in the day when it wasn't actually allowed by ordinance, but it somehow snuck in there and they didn't install it correctly. Essentially, if you're going to use that stuff, you better bet it well before you start driving over it, or else that'll happen. And a lot of the older HDPs were not as good as the newer ones, especially if you get some of the cheaper single walled stuff. They're real delicate. So, yeah, if you don't install them and bet them right, they will do that. It's most likely what happened.
So timeline on possibly starting the project?
That would be a next year project. You just simply can't, we don't have enough time to get it, something when the weather's okay, and you can't really install pipe when it's cold out. Be too, especially a flexible pipe. You're worried about your bedding freezing, your sub-base freezing, and then that thing will move. So it'll likely be a spring, summer project, I would imagine.
All right.
It's anticipated this will be next year. Plus, we'd have to give notices to those property owners to move the fences. So
Yeah.
Anticipate putting this plan together over the winter
Okay.
and then being ready to go once the ground. Obviously, we can't do it in the middle of the rain season because we'll do more damage than we do. So finding out the
They're
project.
minimum 17 parcels.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Minimum, what?
17 parcels. It's 8 lots, but they're duplexes, and you have a single too. So, and if it could be more than that, depending on the exact limits of it.
Does this connect all the way to Ledgestone?
I believe it goes up into this ravine right here.
Okay.
So it's a parcel actually.
Yeah, it's where the park's at.
Yeah, and then there's I think a 48-inch under here. And then it heads into that real deep ravine that splits Ledgestone.
Okay.
I would anticipate we'd have a cost for you coming forward probably right at the beginning of the new year.
Okay.
And then a potential project timeline. So staff will work with the engineer and bring all that to you.
Good. Thank you. All right, moving on to new business. Don't have anything there. Any written communication? All right, getting on into update items. 137th and Lowerman.
So as we've talked in the past, this one's now part of the Noble Oaks kind of subdivision plan. It's part of a singular system that will go down Birchwood. So this entire swale line 137th, rounding the bend on the Lowerman and actually encompassing, I believe, the 2 properties south of 137th and Lowerman one. That'll all be redirected to Birch. Birch will head south in the Sleepy Hollow. There's some discussion, and this is more up to the street department or street committee about potentially doing that one outside of Noble Oaks and pushing it forward because it's outside of Noble Oaks. And Noble Oaks is down here. So it's an entirely separate road. It's just a road that was kind of in between roads that have been, completed or will be completed. So we have our 20% plan together, and that's kind of what the system that we have together will do. So it'll pick up this entire ditch line, provide an outlet for it, and it should solve the problem. It's just a matter of when that project moves forward.
Next one is Gail Labella on Sherman Street and Payman Mark Altup on Sherman Streets. And I know this is part of a big project that is coming up.
This is basically a similar scenario as 137 Lowerman. It's a dead end street. So it's part of this overall kind of subdivision. We call it the Shades, which is essentially everything from Edison east along 141st all the way to the corporate limit. It's also a separate system that would come down Lowerman, tie into a catch basin down on this low spot, and then shoot through an existing storm sewer out to Cedar Creek.
Not Larman.
Huh?
Not Larman.
What did I say?
You said alarm.
Oh, 141st? All right,
Yeah.
sorry. It'll come down Sherman to 141st, down along with Cedar Creek, and then out west to Cedar Creek. Like I said, also a separate system. The easement we would need from the Alltops and the neighbor to the north would be included in that, and that would tie into that overall system. So I mean, we likely could install that system without the road pretty easily. So one that may be accelerated by the road committee, depending on how they want to do it. Once we get the plan finalized and done, we'll bring it to their attention that there are some corresponding items between the overall subdivision plan and Storm Board's agenda, and we'll see where they take it.
So that would be breaking ground next year.
I don't know.
If I may, the street committee is having Christopher Burke put together their next group of subdivision projects. The previous plan in 2010 included 10 different roadway projects. So we're at that again, where we have separate, updating that plan, tying it into our asset management plan where all the roads get a grade,
Mhm.
from 110.
Mhm.
That's due December 1st, so all of these kind of have a little bit of moving pieces together with them, and ultimately the street committee will decide, and looking at the funding with our financial advisors as to when those various larger road reconstructions would take place versus some of your street maintenance. And,
The street committee won't decide. They will make a recommendation to the town council.
exactly. So it's kind of, it's got multiple moving pieces with it,
Mhm.
so seeing where those projects line up and the funding line.
Okay. Thank you.
And part of this is, the reason they came to us in the first place, just to refresh your memory a little bit, is they built a new house in between these two other houses. And they told me when I went out there that they never had any flooding until the new house was built. And we're having this happen in different locations in the town when they pop up a new house because the grade level is different than the old house.
Mhm.
And your building department right now is also requiring an as-built afterwards to make sure things comply and we're not impacting them. So some of this stuff has progressed because of old subdivisions and new homes.
Absolutely.
Well, has there
We
been,
acknowledge that there is something there. Sorry, Dan.
that's all right. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
It's a mess.
So is the town council or whoever committee that is doing these old subdivisions and letting new construction in, are they looking to change the ordinance, or they're just letting it fly like they have for the last 20 years?
No, the building department process has changed a little bit, especially more so in the pre-platted subdivisions like the Shades, the really old ones that don't have a lot of storm sewer infrastructure, don't have master plans, like Lakeside, all the newer ones do. We've actually started reviewing site plans, which we haven't done ever for single lots, as well as builts. So for the pre-platted ones, we actually review the site plans now. And if, it's building in a low spot or, blocking water, they will be required to remedy that before they construct. So it would correct issues like the Sherman Street one. Cut them off before they built. It doesn't do much good to catch them at as-built. Houses are built.
I was just going to say that.
So, yeah. So that's the process to catch items like this now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving on to Elaine Edwards, 10535 West 129th Ave.
Town issued a letter for basically a notification to remove the restrictor on the pipe that goes under Mr. Moak's driveway. So they essentially received a letter on the 14th and have a notice to remove it by the 30th or code enforcement will be involved and potential fines or public works removing it themselves would happen.
It's been removed.
It's been removed?
Good.
All right.
Has any notification been received from the Edwards family? Okay. All right, moving on next to Martin Ryan.
I don't know if you want town staff to notify them. The Edwards, just to let them know that it's been taken care of. Sorry, Brian.
You're good. Moving on next to Martin Ryan, 8320 Raven Way.
This project has been completed, as reported by Public Works staff.
Yeah, so the cap was in, the lid was installed, the grate, and well, yeah, we'll just watch it. I think it's a capacity thing that the pipe is clean and clear. So it more than likely is a capacity clogging issue. So we'll watch it during the spring rains and take it from there.
All right, good deal. Thank you, Public Works, for doing that. Next up is Public Work project updates. First order is Jacob Veman, 9208 West 142nd Place.
You have a kind of conceptual plan in your packet, essentially to drain the low area in the rear of the property. It's 200 plus feet of 12-inch pipe that'll tie into an existing 24-inch manhole a little to the east of the property. This will likely be done by an outside contractor. I don't know if it'll be this year or spring. It's getting a little tight to fit some of these projects in this time of year, but we will do our best. The estimate was, it's around upper teens, lower 20s, we'll call it. I don't really necessarily like to read our estimate out loud in a public meeting, especially if it's going to be quoted. But you can see it in your packet, and that's the general range.
Okay.
So there is a storm sewer out front. It's actually exceedingly deep. It's about 9 feet deep, which was a surprise. It's an old system. The structure we're tapping into is essentially an inverted 24-inch RCP pipe. It's almost like a standpipe in a way. But we should be able to connect a 12-inch PVC into it. We will still need to procure an easement to get access to the property. It will be a temporary easement, so anything outside of our right of way will revert to local, well, private maintenance at that point. We will also contact at least the north property owner as well to see if he has a sump pump we can tie in, as well as Mr. Veman. And then, yeah, we'll move it forward as soon as we get signatures.
And this will still need to be discussed with the property owner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of hot off the presses, so it will move for the next, throughout the next month, and we'll have an update next month.
Do you have any comments? Do you have any comments?
No, I'm plenty listening.
Yep.
This, where this new structure will feed into, will be no problem accepting this, right?
It should not. No, I mean, this is really just a matter of getting rid of a low spot, and we're talking maybe 5 or 6 lots that will feed to it, and only the rear portions of those lots. So, I mean, based on how deep this sewer is, it should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving on to next order of business, Robin and Jesse Albano, 12836 Hess Street.
wants to take this one? I went out there with Eric and Tom after last meeting, and we walked the lot to the north through this subject lot and the lot to the south. It's pretty much all the lots that drain to a catch basin. I'll pull it up really quick. Wrong monster. So that's the Albanos. There's a catch basin up here on the north edge of their north property boundary. This lot's currently being built on right now. Like I said, we went out there after last meeting and we didn't see a whole lot. It wasn't wet. The grass is pristine. I mean that you can't get better grass. There's almost a 1% pitch from the southern line to the north line. And the northern property, he's already constructed basically a rock trench here because I think he had issues way back in the day and he's fixed it himself. So I understand it hasn't rained a whole lot this summer until probably the last 2 weeks, but it wasn't spongy, it wasn't wet, it was dry, there was plenty of pitch on it, it's swaled well. We don't know what the problem is what we're saying. So, I mean, we can keep an eye on it. I would hate to rip up that grass if it didn't have to, because it's never going to look the same when we do. Even if you put sod back, it's never going to look the same.
And they have a fence back there too, right?
There is a fence. And once you go onto their north property line, there's a transformer back here. He's got a heat pump for his pool back here. We would have to rip up all of the, basically the rock area to put in a pipe. I understand that the new house here does have a sump pump coming out the back, so we'll keep an eye on what that does. But I mean, there are far less pitched rear yards in this town than this. So, I mean, it's not that we, are against putting it in there, but like I said, there's much worse off than this.
Okay.
So we can keep an eye on it, and maybe it gets spongy again in the spring when we get more rain. Maybe it was in the spring like it was this year, but when we went out there, it was bone dry.
And I know we kind of talked about this before, but I'd be worried about making it actually worse than it actually is if you actually did anything.
Yeah, and the grass is so lush it may be covering up some like small bellies and some low spots in it maybe. But I mean, looking at the contours, which I mean, this house has been there long before these were shot, and seeing it with your eye, there's pitch on it.
I'm afraid getting an excavator in there and then trying to start digging, it's not we're gonna make more of a.
We already know there's utilities back there too, aren't there?
And they're.
Hence the
2 feet
transformer.
down, maybe 3 feet down.
Because they did put in a pipe there, a couple properties to the north. So we know what's out there. Guarantee there's buried electrical back there.
Yeah, and we only were able to get the pipe a foot down in the ground.
Oh.
And the utilities were right there.
Okay. Tammy, I'll reach out to you later in the week and contact the Albanos and get their information, see what can be done. And just reiterate everything that went on today. Thank you. Next is Mr. Denick, 10813 West 134th Place. And I believe there was some conversations that took place with Director of Operations earlier today with Mr. Denick. And if you want to come on up and
I didn't know if you had a formal update or something from the town on this project first before I take over.
Tim said next week. He told me he met with you. He
Yep.
said next week. And then he said it's going to happen. So
I have some questions because it was last month's meeting that they said that the town was going to do it. And then I asked Jill, I said, what's going on here? Why isn't he doing it? And then you told me that the town authorized him to put the dirt in there?
There was communication that we had noticed that the dirt was there and that we didn't feel it had so much of an impact, but after reviewing everything, we realized that there's some history there and the drainage easement for a reason. So we are removing the dirt in conjunction with the property owner. The dirt's going back on the property and there'll be some seeding and the property owner will be moving the dirt around his yard.
And do we have some sort of documentation that we gave him permission to fill it in?
There was verbal communication.
Mark Deanick, 10813 West 134th Place. The communication that I guess is being referred to, the verbal communication, is when I initially reported this to the town that the fill had been placed and that it was in violation of an ordinance. Then Mr. Kubiak was sent out there to look at it, and he didn't take the plat plan out there that I had left here for him. I had left him an entire packet that was never given to him. So he went out there unaware that there was actually an easement there and everything else. And apparently told the homeowner that, well, he didn't think it would affect anything that much and he could leave it there. Now, to me, that doesn't justify, I mean, that's not an approved fill permit that says the fill can be placed. And last time I checked, I don't believe that the inspector spoke on behalf of the Stormwater Board, but that's just.
Well, I can, I'd like to comment on this. Jill and I had a very similar conversation, obviously, Bob, that you had with her. A verbal okay to put encumbrances in waterway is against the law.
It was after it was placed.
But you know, the town is maintaining that somebody gave him an okay to do this. And I
Who is
believe.
that somebody?
Huh?
Who is that somebody?
Well, that's my point. My point is, nobody's fessing up to this. That, well, it wasn't me, it was somebody else. It sounds like something very similar that's happening across the country. But here's the story. It's wrong. And having the town pay to have this removed, in my opinion, just exactly what we talked about, is wrong as well.
And that's what I brought up last week.
You gotta wait till we're.
The ordinance is very clear that it will be paid for by the person that put the encumbrances in. And me personally, it's probably 20 cents out of my pocket to do this project when you encompass everybody in the town. But I'd rather have my 20 cents go to something else, like some other problems that we have here. I don't believe that we should be bailing out someone that broke the law, and the law is very clear. The ordinance is very clear. You know, it just really perturbs me that, well, we gave an okay. Who did? And what, on what authority did they say, yeah, go ahead and fill in the ditch? I mean, I don't see anybody in this town having that authority. That goes, the town council, that goes for the town president or Public Works, thank you. I don't see where anybody, including this stormwater board, the engineering company, can say, yeah, go ahead and fill it in. It's there for a reason. It was put there for a reason, and it is a conveyance, a legal conveyance. And to make it illegal, I believe, is 100% wrong. And at that, I will let that be part of the minutes. I missed the last meeting for personal reasons, and I wish I would have been here. That's all I could say. it really, when we start something like this, when is it going to stop? Who's going to take responsibility for filling in or digging out ditches? It's like we got the problem with fences and stuff in the easement. And it held up a couple of projects because we didn't know what to do. The ordinance is real clear. You can't put a fence in the easement. You can't plant trees in the easement. And it's up to the homeowner to get rid of it. It's cut and dried. If we want to change this, fine, let's change it. But I don't think it needs to be changed. I think we need to follow the law. Sorry.
Fine. If there's any public comment, please approach the stand.
Dave Novacell, 10805 West 134th Place. I had brought this up last week. The way I'm thinking what happened here is possibly somebody went there when this all started and Mark went to you guys and called you out there. I think somebody might have went to him and said, you know what? You already got it down. Just leave it right now. Let's get to the bottom of this. I think that's what maybe the homeowner might be telling you guys. Because I know somebody went out and had a meeting with him. My first meeting here was in August. What was said in August was you were sending him a letter and giving him till a certain date to remove it, or you were going to remove it. Then all of a sudden, somebody took it upon themselves to go out and have a meeting with this guy. Instead of calling him in here to have a meeting along with the complainant. They took it upon themselves to have a meeting and everything's changed. It should have never changed from then. This should have never went on for what, 7, 8 months now? Just like you got done saying, somebody went on the town property, destroyed it, and then we want the taxpayers to pay for it. And I agree with you, it might only be 20 cents, but that's where I'm arguing.
Well, I don't know what that number is.
Right, we don't, until you figure out what it is.
But I don't think I should have to pay for someone else's mistake.
Right, he should be given a notice and given a couple of weeks to do it in right now, or we go in and do it. Or give him a bill. If you want to give him the opportunity to move it himself, I would imagine that we can get Mr. Dienick to agree to it right now. If you put it on a timeline and give him like 2 weeks, you'd have to take that up with Mr. Dienick.
He was given until September 11th already, and he didn't do it.
But he wasn't given a letter either. They said they were going to give him a letter and did it.
He was given a letter.
He was given a letter, so
Yes.
then he's already had that time. So now if you do it, I think he needs a bill. I really do.
Do we have a copy of that letter, Don?
I requested it several times.
Right.
Not on me. Not with me, no. It was a cease and desist letter that came up from the town.
But it was sent out.
It was sent out.
Who initiated the letter?
I did.
Okay,
And it's available via public records request to the clerk treasurer's office.
and did you say that in the letter that if he didn't do anything, that the town was going to pay to have this stuff removed?
I do not have the letter in front of me, so I don't want to misquote what's in the letter.
Okay.
Mark Dienick, 10813 West 134th Place. I would just like to add, can we please make sure that the discussion and everything of the cost and then who's going to incur that cost doesn't affect getting the completion of the work done? I mean, regardless of, what ends up happening, who ends up paying for it, I want to make sure that we don't affect the timeline because of that.
No,
Okay.
it's going to happen next week.
Okay.
Whether or not the homeowner reimburses, that's up for a policy discussion
Okay,
with staff.
thank you.
Okay. I'll check back in with you. I'm sure I'll hear from you next week, next month, but we'll talk. Other than that concludes the meeting. And we're going to adjourn the meeting.